Welcome to The Explainer. Our whole goal here is to take complex topics and turn them into clear, really dynamic presentations. All right, let's just jump right in with a question that I think we've all asked ourselves. Why is it so incredibly hard to change our habits? To make a good one stick or finally kick a bad one. We've all been there, right? So today, we are diving deep into James Clear's mega bestseller, Atomic Habits. We're going to look at the core ideas, see how they play out in the real world, and we'll even get into some of the pushback and critiques the book has gotten. Okay, so the first big idea, the one the whole book is built on, is this. Real, meaningful change comes from these tiny, almost unnoticeable improvements. The central promise here is, it's pretty simple. Just get 1% better each day. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot, does it? But Clear's whole point is that this is the mathematical secret to getting some truly remarkable results over the long haul.
He has this great analogy for it. He calls it the compound interest of self-improvement. Think about it. Just like money in a savings account that compounds, these tiny daily efforts, they multiply. They build on each other until, boom, you've got these incredible results that you probably didn't even think were possible.
But, as soon as you see that math, it raises a question. Is this a hard and fast scientific rule, or is it more of a motivational idea, a mantra to get you going?
And that's where critics jump in. They say, hold on, that math can be a bit misleading. And they have a point. Think about exercise. If you go from doing nothing to working out 30 minutes a day, that's a massive gain, right? But what about going from 2 hours to 2.5 hours? The benefit isn't nearly as big. The returns diminish. So this kind of suggests the 1% idea is a really powerful mindset, but maybe not a universal law of nature.
And actually, that critique of focusing on the 1% outcome, it leads us perfectly into the book's next huge idea, which is all about shifting your focus away from the finish line and back to the process itself. Clear's take is pretty radical. He says if you're struggling to change, you are not the problem. It's your system that's the problem. I love this part. He points out that winners and losers often have the exact same goals. So what's the difference? It's the systems they have in place. And this all builds up to what he calls identity-based habits. So the goal isn't just run a marathon, it's become a runner. See the difference? Every single time you go for a run, you're casting a little vote for that new identity. And when you do that, the habit stops feeling like a chore and starts feeling like, just an expression of who you are becoming. Okay. So if it's all about the system, how the heck do you build a good one? Well, this is where Clear gives us a really simple, super practical 4-part framework. He calls them the 4 laws of behavior change. To create a good habit, you have to 1. Make the cue obvious, 2. Make the craving attractive, 3. Make the response, the action, super easy, and 4. Make the reward satisfying. It's basically a simple checklist for engineering your own behavior. And what's really cool is how this works for breaking bad habits. You just flip it. You invert every law. Make it invisible. Make it unattractive. Make it difficult. And make it unsatisfying. It's just so elegant and symmetrical, right? All right. This is the fun part. This is where the theory stops being theory and gets really practical. Let's look at some awesome real-world examples of how people are actually using these laws. Okay, look at this one. There's so much going on here. You've got that huge identity shift first. I am no longer a drinker. That's powerful. And then it's paired with a new, super satisfying reward. Instead of the poison, you get something nice. That's Law 4 in action. This one is a perfect example of inverting Law 3. Make it difficult. By adding all that friction, you got to find the keys, go outside in the cold, unlock the car. That snack just becomes way too much work. It's totally impractical. I love this one. This is just brilliant environment design. It basically makes the bad habit, hitting snooze, almost impossible to do. And at the same time, it makes the good habit, actually getting out of bed, pretty much inevitable. People use a couple of other really clever strategies too. There's habit stacking, where you literally stack a new habit on top of one you already do. So after I brush my teeth, then I'll meditate. Then there's habit substitution.
That's where you replace a bad habits craving with a totally new, better response. So instead of a cigarette, you do a set of push-ups. Okay, so the book has sold millions and millions of copies. You'd think everybody just loves it, right? Well, not exactly. There's actually a pretty healthy debate out there about how valuable it really is.
One of the most common critiques you'll hear is that, look, this is just common sense. It's great advice, but it's been packaged and marketed really, really well. Some readers walk away feeling like the whole message was just, if you want to do something, break it into small pieces and then just do the tasks.
But then you have the defenders, and they say, yeah, that's exactly the point. The book's magic isn't that it's revealing some ancient hidden secret. Its power is that it takes these simple, common-sense ideas and frames them with such great stories and a clear, actionable structure that for a lot of people, it just finally clicks. Now, the more formal critiques, they get a little more specific. They'll point back to that dodgy math we talked about, saying it's used to oversell the claims. They might point out what they see as contradictions, like on the role of willpower versus your environment. And they'll argue that, look, James Clear isn't a research scientist, and maybe he exaggerates his case a little to make a point. So, where does that leave us? After looking at the big ideas, the hype, and the pushback, what's the final takeaway here? In the end, Atomic Habits probably isn't a revolutionary scientific breakthrough. But maybe it doesn't have to be. Its real value seems to be that it's an incredibly clear, practical, and accessible manual. It's a toolkit. It gives you, the reader, the power and the framework to start experimenting on yourself and see what works for you. And so the book leaves us with this one final, really personal question. It's not about some huge, dramatic transformation you have to make overnight. It just boils down to this. What is the one tiny, atomic vote that you can cast today for the person you want to become?